For the first time, 9 years ago, corruption ceased to be a domestic affair of each state. On 31st of October 2003, United Nations General Assembly adopted Resolution 58.4, which opened UN Convention on Anti-Corruption for signature by the states. Of course, none of those conventions and international treaties can solve problems on the ground unless there is a political will and also a democratic control of the citizens over the government. Hence, the goal of the Global Against Corruption Today campaign is to raise awareness about the impact of the corruption on our everyday lives. The slogan of Against Corruption Today campaign this year is Your No Counts, and it aims at the most active segment of our society, the young people. We at UNDP believe that the activities which we supported this year, namely street campaigns and anti-corruption forum, will be able to reach out to the hearts and minds of the young people of Ukraine. Therefore, our joint no to corruption will enable each of us to benefit from the results.
ACT is an international campaign which is dedicated to fighting corruption all over the world. Special attention will be given this year to the youth as the most active layer of the society to combat this phenomenon globally. The Global Anti-Corruption Marathon in Ukraine was kicked off creatively. The Boxing Hook on Corruption street campaign, which launched on the 7th of December on one of the main streets of the capital close to Maidan Nezalezhnosti, called on to participants to hit corruption as hard as possible. If you paid close enough attention, you could see that today we also have representatives of corrupt traffic police, medical services, and of course me, representing education. These characters show, partly, the corruption processes that exist in these areas. And I think that in such a satirical form, through Boxing Hook on Corruption and on this symbolic boxing ring, we demonstrate these processes to the people. I take part in this International Anticorruption Day, and I do not want our country to have this phenomenon. I join by saying no. Ukrainians eagerly accepted this offer to voice their no to corruption in the society. The anti-heroes of the day, the corrupt professor, the traffic police inspector, and the nurse, offered all the passers-by to purchase fake university diplomas, traffic violation citations, as well as sick leave certificates. At the same moment, the enormous air-filled boxing ring featured the struggle between the corrupt hero Mr. Core and the hero of the day, Mr. Hook. During the first round, Core took over, whereas the second time Hook was able to take victory back. We are very thankful for the fact that the United Nations Development Programme has supported us, and that due to this support, this activity, which has gathered a lot of media attention, became possible. Why Hook? We called it Hook since today everyone has their chance to make their punch on corruption. Psychologically, a person who has joined in today will, hopefully, never pay a bribe again. It is very important that each one join in. Street campaigns and outreach activities were continued on the 9th of December when all the already well-known anti-heroes were addressing the passers-by with a request to literally pick their pockets for bribes. The surprised and even shocked passers-by were then welcomed by a volunteer who offered them a booklet with practical advice on countering corruption in everyday situations. Yet, apart from outreach campaigns, spreading the word in the media, and work with the citizens, there are other components which are crucial for having an effective fight against corruption. During the National Forum My Recipe of Action, which was co-organized by Transparency International Ukraine, UNDP, Matcha Program, and the Friedrich Naumann Foundation, a score of best practices and instruments which can assist civic activists in their fight against corruption were presented. At the beginning of the forum, the methodology for conducting anti-corruption civic expert assessments of draft laws and normative acts, which was elaborated with UNDP support, was presented. This methodology is a user-friendly instrument for locating and assessing potential corruption risks in the draft laws and regulations which are promulgated by the executive branch of the government. It is equipped with practical examples and illustrations for the recommendations that it proposes and gives a qualified civic activist a tool to enable seamless preparation of an expert conclusion.
It is anything but freezing in Kiev. We are celebrating the International Anticorruption Day. The forum today has gathered over 150 activists from the whole country. Today, we studied methodologies for spotting corruption, talking about it loudly, and supporting each other in real attempts to counter it. Why? Because we have to live in this country, since we want a future for ourselves. It is great that we are doing it together. We say, corruption, you must go.
Hopes that the level of corruption will decrease by itself, or that corruption will be eliminated by a resolute decision from the top, or just by pressing a button, are futile. Indeed, political will is an inalienable element of fight against corruption, but it is no less important to understand that each of us can and should make our own input by refusing to pay, by raising the voice to protect our rights, by nurturing our children in the spirit of intolerance to corruption as a means of solving problems. There are no countries without corruption, but our unanimous no to corruption will impact Ukraine as a whole.